Let's make a Plinko.
Okay, are you ready? We are gonna make this Plinko game. This is one of our favorite game show games ever. It's a classic, everybody knows it, everybody loves it. We decided to make our own. To go with this assembly video, we also have detailed plans that you can get on our blog. The plans will have a cut list, materials, and all the exact measurements you need to create a Plinko just like ours. Okay, are you ready? Let's get started. We're starting with a piece of plywood, 1/2 inch thick, that is 2 feet by 4 feet. You can get this in the hardware store as like a project board already cut to this size. Makes it super easy so you don't have to pull out the table saw. But if you've got bigger boards, you can cut it down to size 2.
So the first thing we need to do is make our grid pattern onto our board so that we know exactly where to drill all of these holes.
We've got our grid drawn on here, so now we know where the pegs are going to go. We've got the measurements in the plans, so it's going to be all easy to work out. But if that's a little complicated, we also have a printable pattern in the plans for this that you can actually print out, piece together, put on here. It tells you where all of the holes need to go. So that may be a good solution if you're a little worried about all the measurements.
All right, next step is we're going to mark where all of our peg holes are going to go. The reason we're going to mark where the holes go is because we don't want to get confused when we start drilling, because there's not going to be a peg at every single intersection, because we want this little cut to bounce back and forth, not just go straight down.
Reminder, the plans you get on our website include a printable template, 15 pages that you can tape together, which is the actual 2 by 4 foot size of the board. This has all of the markings on it for the holes and the pegs. If you're a template kind of person, this could save you some time. We have all the spots marked where we're going to put the pegs, and it's time to drill. But I want to show you a little tip that's going to make this a much more successful thing. Here's one of the spots where a hole is going to go. This is the drill bit I'm going to be using, but this is pretty big and it might get kind of wonky in there if I just go straight with it. So I'm going to start with this tiny, tiny drill bit, and I'm going to put it right exactly on the spot that I want. Just a tiny little hole. Then when I come back later with this, I'll be able to position it in there, and look, it doesn't move, and I'm going to get a nice, perfectly centered hole with the big bit. All right, we're ready to drill our big holes now. I've got my drill bit in here. Now, the biggest part about this you want to keep straight is you want to make sure you drill straight down. You don't want to go like this or like this, because then your pegs are going to be crooked. So I've got a little jig here that's going to make that a lot easier for me. It's got a space here for the exact size of my drill bit. I'm going to just pop that through, and then I'm going to line it up in that little hole that I pre-drilled before. Drop that down, and now I'm ready to go. All right, there we go. And now I've got my nice straight hole that should be lined up just right for the peg.
While Chica is finishing drilling our holes out, what we need next are the pegs. I'm going to take this and make a whole bunch of these. We've cut all of our dowels, and now we need to put them in all the holes.
I've got some wood glue here. We're going to put a little bit of glue on the back just to make sure that they stay nice and tight in these holes, although they should be the perfect size, but this will be extra. Okay, we have our pegboard ready, and we're ready to start building the frame. We've got a plan to lay this out so that it's going to be nice and level and even all the way around. And we're going to start with these boards that are going to be used for our legs later, but we're going to use them for spacers now. So I've got them on either side, standing up here on the table. Then we're going to grab our pegboard and put it on top, all right, with the bottom down at that end. We're going to line that up with the end of these legs. Now, we're not cutting these to size yet. These are going to come away later. They're just here for spacing. So now we have our base piece down there that we've put at the end, and then we've got our 2 pieces that are going to go on the sides here. So we're lining these up so that it is flush here at the top, and we have it going down past the bottom about a foot because we want a leg on these. Here's this one on this side. Now, I'm going to show you a trick. So when we attach this to the side here, what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue here, and this is going to attach, and then we're going to put some nails, or you could use screws to attach it in here. But from this side, how do we know where the line is? So I'm going to show you on this side. What we're going to do is actually go ahead and draw a line on the board right there. Okay, now let's switch them. And when we put this one on this side, now we have that line, and we know that we can put our nails right below there. We have it 1/2 inch below that line. So we're gonna do the same thing on that side, and that's gonna make it so much easier to line up.
We have our sides and our bottom all screwed on. It's nice and glued. It's all tight. So we got to let this piece dry now.
Now that the glue is set up, we're going to fill this gap up here. You remember this is the pieces that I used to space it before earlier? Well, I've cut a piece exactly the same width. It's going to fit right in here. I'm going to use a little glue. I'm going to attach it here on the ends, and that's going to solidify this end and make it look a little better. Okay, that's all set up. And now we're going to need to do a little bit extra here on the side so that our chip falls down like it's supposed to. Let me show you up close. Okay, this is the top of the board, so our chip is going to come down this way. Now, if we're in here between these pegs, it's no problem. It can bounce, it can pop, it can fit through all of these. But over here on this side, if you were to drop it here, it would just go straight down because we don't have anything blocking it. So why did we not put pegs over here? Well, let me show you even closer. This is the spot on our grid where normally a peg would have been. If we had put a peg here and this chip had come down and gone this way, it would be stuck. It wouldn't fit through. Let's say there was one here and we came down and we bounced, boom, it would get stuck. So we can't do that. Instead, we're going to do what they do on the real boards, and we've got these triangles. If we put a triangle here anywhere that there should have been a peg, then the point of the triangle behaves the same as the peg, but the angle here keeps it from falling down and getting stuck. So now if this were to come down and hit this, it would go here, and it has no choice but to come back down in, and then to come here and go back down in. So we need to cut a whole bunch of these. Okay, when you are putting these on, you want this point to go right here at the point of the grid, and then it goes flush against the side. And so this one right on the point of the grid. And that almost lines up. There's actually a little bit of extra here, and by the time I put the next one on, it's a little bit off. This is such a tricky cut. It's pretty much impossible to get exactly perfect. So here's what I do. I just take the sandpaper, and if they don't quite fit, we just grind down. We just sand down that corner a little bit, and then they fit perfectly. This may feel like cheating, but trust me, this is a lot easier than recutting your pieces over and over again. There we go. I'm just going to keep on going up the line. Okay, we have a little more work to do here at the bottom of the board. Remember, gameplay goes in this direction. This is the bottom. So as the chip comes down through here, we want it to fall into different sections, and so we need to make those sections. So I've just cut this little piece to size here, and it's going to go lined up with the last pegs. So this one's going to go right here. That way, when the chip falls in, you go into this or this, whatever. Now, there's one extra little catch. Because this is flat, I don't want the chip to land here and not know what to do. So I've cut a little beveled edge in this here, and we're going to put that right there. And then that way, when it lands, it has no problem falling one side or the other. Cut my pieces here with the angle on top. We're going to put one at each of these spots where the bottom one is. And now we have 5 channels for our chip to fall into. Okay, we've got all the pieces cut now. They're ready to go. I've cleaned out all the sawdust. So now I'm going to get some wood glue and I'm going to start attaching them. Okay, here is our Plinko board, the front of it. And now we need to work on a stand for the back, because to be able to play, you actually want it to tilt back like this. So we need something that's going to support that. So I've got some boards here that we're going to put together to basically go in like this and hold it up. But I've got to do a little bit of work to build this whole structure, but I'm actually going to make it so that it nests inside the board to fold it up for easier storage. Okay, so let's move this Plinko board over to the side. I've got these two long boards here, one at either end. There we go. And then I've got 3 pieces in the middle that are going to be exactly perfectly spaced to make a stand that's going to fit inside of the back of our Plinko board. The first thing that I need to do is round over the edge here. For this to be able to pivot and turn inside, we need these edges to be rounded. All right, I've clamped these together so that I can cut them both at the same time and get the same cut on both. And I'm just going to kind of sketch out a guide for myself. I want this basically just sort of rounded like this. That should work. Let me go get the jigsaw. I'm actually going to clamp this to my table, not just to each other. That will work a lot better to keep things nice and stable for me. All right, not too bad. Let's get the sander here and smooth that out just to make it nice and even. Let's get these clamps off. So now we have our 2 matching pieces. And each one of these is going to be able to pivot inside of the space because it's got this nice round edge. I'll put our rounded ends here up at the top. And then I'm going to take these ladder pieces that I have cut and I'm going to put them here in between, right on my marks. That. And then I'm just going to attach some screws here in the ends and the ends to brace this all together. I'm going to use my square to help keep this nice and square. I'm going to pre-drill first, and then I'm going to attach the screws in here and here and here and there. All right, there is our nice brace for the back. Now let's see how it fits onto the piece. Let's get our Plinko board back down here on the table so we can see. It's going to lay in like this. The bottom is going to line up. This here is going to go inside like that, okay? And then this is going to go up and down. It's going to be really clever, right? There's just one catch, and that is that this piece right here, you can see as this piece goes up and down, these legs are actually hitting this piece here that's across the bottom for stability. Have to have this piece, have to have these pieces. So how are we going to combine? Well, all we need to do is cut a little notch right here for this to slide down, a little notch right here for this to slide down. I'm going to mark it all out, and we're going to figure out exactly what to cut. So I've got it lined up here on the bottom, and then I'm just going to draw a line right here and right here. We're going to notch right there so that this can drop down into the base. So you can use any saw you want to cut this. I'm actually going to use a coping saw just because this pine is really easy to cut. This is a nice fine line here on this blade. It's just what I had handy. All right, now that our line is cut, I'm just going to take a nice sharp chisel here and just knock that little piece out. On this side, and just snap that right off, no problem. Now I've got a scrap, and let's make sure that it fits. Oh, wonderful. See that? That's going to fit in there just right. Okay, we've got our notches cut. Let's get that back and see how it fits. Goes right between at this end. All right, and then down. It fits! Look at that, nice and flush. Okay, gotta slide down a little bit though, because I want my bottom legs level here, and that fits beautifully. So let's just test it. So this can go up and down. Isn't that cool? Okay, love it. All right, perfect. Let me show you a little closer what's going on here. Remember when we rounded these edges? That is so when this lifts up, that rounded edge is going to let this pivot on here. If it was square, it would be up higher, but that round is going to let it pivot. What we need for our pivot point, we're going to need to drill a hole through here, through this part of the top of the brace, and through this to put a bolt with a washer and a nut so that this can be our pivot point, so that this can go up and down like that, no problem. I've got my back lined up so that the feet match the feet of the front down at that end. And at this end, I've got this nice down and flush. And I'm going to go ahead and put a clamp on here just to hold things still so that I can make sure that my drill hole doesn't slip. Here, we'll go ahead and do the other side while I'm at it. Now I'm just going to drill a hole that's going to go right through the center of this and all the way through to the other side. Give a quick sand here to get rid of those splintered edges. I'm going to put a washer on first. Pop this through. Another washer. A nut. Not too tight, but I'm going to put a second nut on there. Just going to keep this from working its way loose. Having the two on there will help. So now let's do the other side. All right, the bolts are in. You ready to see it work? Ah, look at that. It's perfect. Okay, let's look at the whole thing. Here's the end where we rounded this. And the reason for that, you can see when I lift this up, that rounded edge lets it pivot and turn. The square edge here would have bumped into the bottom. So that works great. Got the same on this side. Coming down to the end. Remember where we cut that notch? Our legs fit right down into the notch just like that. And you have a nice, flat, easy to store back. Okay, we're almost done with the construction. There's 2 more little things we're gonna have to do, but we are ready to stand this thing up and test it and see if it works. Here's our Plinko board, and I'm gonna pull our stand out so that I can pivot it back like that to stand up. Oh my gosh, it's so perfect. Okay, we're gonna do some adjustments here. We're gonna secure this so that it doesn't fly open, but first, let's test it. What we're gonna use for this is a air hockey puck. It's kind of a miniature one. It's a good size for it. So let's see how it works. Going to drop it here at the top. Oh my gosh, it worked great. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Let's try it over here. That is fantastic. Do you want to see a little better? I have to figure out the exact right angle to have this. You don't want it too steep. You don't want it too far down. So I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting here and get just the right angle for it. Okay, with our thing set here at the angle I like, now we need to focus on the bottom. Because these were cut at 90-degree angles before and we've angled this piece, this is now up off the floor a little bit. I specifically waited to do this till the end until I got the exact angle I wanted. So now we just need to trim this. So I'm just going to stack up a couple scraps of board that I had from this project on the floor, and I've created this perfect line that's going to line up with the floor. And we'll just trace that. So now this is where we need to cut. We'll do the same thing on the back leg. All right, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now that I've got those lines drawn, I'm going to fold the Plinko back up, put it on the table, and cut them with my jigsaw. Trim the bottom now, so this is nice and level. So let's stand it back up. And you can see where I cut the angles at the bottom, the legs now are completely flat on the ground. Still one problem though. Now we don't want this to open up any more than we want it to for safety reasons. We wouldn't want this to pop out and the whole thing go flat. So what we've got here is a little bit of chain. I just found this chain at the hardware store. I've got a little screw and a washer, and I'm going to put it through the end of the chain. Okay, we're going to attach it to the back of the board here. Make sure you use a screw that is not so long that it's going to go through, poke through the other side. All right, now that I have this secured to the side, I'm going to pull it tight until it lines up right here. And this is where I'm going to put a second screw, and that is going to keep that from extending too far. But then when we fold it up, it's going to collapse down. It's going to be great. So let's get another screw under here. Okay, here is the back of it with the chain attached. You can see that it's nice and attached there. I've attached it under here, and then I just cut off the excess. And now with that safety chain there, this back stand will not be able to go past that point. This will not be able to collapse to the ground. All right, here it is standing up. When I lift it, it collapses just like expected, right? So nice and easy for storage. Now let's test again, pulling it out. It will not go past this point. That is exactly what we wanted. Now we set it down. We have every reason to think that this is going to stay nice and sturdy. Here it is, our completed Plinko board. Isn't it amazing? Right now, it is just plain wood. It is ready for decoration. You can leave it like this and stain it. If you want to paint it, you can. I'd probably fill some of these screw holes on the side first and then paint it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. We went ahead and painted the whole thing white and got a nice solid finish on it. So now it can be decorated. You can leave it like this. We may have some plans in the future for decorating, but first we want to show you how it actually works.
I have been so excited, so let's see how it goes. It totally works.
Okay, give me some. Okay,
It works
super
great.
awesome.
So thanks for following along as we made our Plinko.
This has been a really fun project. We really appreciate you watching as we worked on this. If you haven't liked this video or subscribed, please make sure. We don't want you to miss any of our cool projects that are coming up.
Don't forget, everything you need is on the blog,
including detailed plans if you want to make your own. Thanks everybody. See ya.